I'm Lama Tantrapa. Welcome to my new video dedicated to strength training. The most intelligent way to strength train that I know of. And I've been in the business of strength training and fitness since 1990, when I started and owned the first privately owned gym in Moscow, Russia. Since then, I've developed great strategies for developing inner strength. Let me explain. What's the inner strength and how is it different from regular strength or outer strength? You've probably heard people talking about how we don't really use 100% of our brain capacity. Maybe 10%, maybe 12%. The genius maybe 15 or 20% of their brain capacity, but it's really tiny tip of the iceberg as compared to the whole capacity of our central nervous system. And that means that we have lots of room for improvement. Well, the same actually applies to our muscles as well. Believe it or not, a lot of our muscle tissue doesn't really engage in functioning when we try to contract a muscle. How do I know that? Well, you probably experienced it yourself. For example, you might have lifted some weights or done some other exercises, and then a few hours later, next day, you felt like your muscles were getting really tense, especially the ones that you were exercising. And if you try to massage the muscles that you exercised, for example, if you did some biceps curls or some other movements that gave your biceps some workout, you could massage and you could feel that there were like ropes inside of the muscle tissue. They were sore and they were still holding tension, even though you were not sending any conscious signals of contraction to the muscles. Now, the funny thing is that it happens to everyone. It's ubiquitous, and we all experience that sooner or later in our lives. The reason why there is the rope inside of the muscle is because there is a small percentage of muscle tissue that actually got overworked. The rest of the muscle didn't get overworked. Why? Because it didn't really get engaged in the action. When you were trying to contract muscles, when you were doing the workouts, for example, you sent signals from the central nervous system to your muscles to contract. These signals don't make their way to the muscle instantly. Some of them get there sooner, some of them get there later. Some of them get lost on the loop or rerouted along the neural pathways and find their way to the muscles a lot later. Hours, sometimes even days later. That's why your muscles are tense after the workout. They are not receiving conscious signals of contraction. Why are they tense? The muscles will not tense up if they don't receive signals to contract. Well, they are receiving signals, but these are unconscious signals, or signals that got sent a while ago and now they're trickling, making their way to the muscle tissue, and finally the tissue contracts. What also happens is that many of those muscle fibers don't even receive any signal. In other words, there is a disconnect, communication breakdown, and those fibers of the muscle basically don't get engaged in the action. They slack off, and the great majority of those muscle tissues that don't receive the signals to contract in time. As a result of that, only a small percentage, maybe 10, maybe 15% of your muscle tissue actually works out when you're trying to exercise or lift weights or do some other types of exercises. Some serious athletes develop their muscle function to a higher percentage. So maybe 20 or 30% of their muscle fibers actually fire as soon as they try to contract. Maybe Bruce Lee could contract 50%. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's universal among humans that the signals that we send from central nervous system to the muscles do not fire all the muscle fibers, but rather just a small percentage of them. What does that mean? It means that you have a lot of capacity, but you're not utilizing it. And that's exactly what the SMART strength training system is dedicated to. Inner strength is developed by engaging a higher percentage of your existing muscle fibers and working out when you choose to contract those muscles. And when you choose to relax, they stop tensing up. So the intelligent strength training system doesn't require you to bulk up. It doesn't break down the muscle fibers so that there is no hypertrophy, which means the muscles don't get bigger and bigger. Instead, you use a higher percentage of that which you already have. If you do that, you develop inner strength instead of the outer strength. This is something that many people in martial arts call strengthening tendons, which is actually wrong. They're not strengthening their tendons that much. They're actually developing the higher percentage of the muscle fiber capacity to contract when it's time to contract. This misunderstanding obviously has to do with looking not bulky, but still getting stronger if you engage in this type of training. Like I mentioned, Bruce Lee perhaps had 50 or even higher percentage of his muscle fibers contracting at the time when he wanted them to contract. Some other martial artists, of course, have similar capacity, and not only martial artists, the world-class athletes develop these capabilities as well. Shaolin monks develop these capabilities, some of them do. The reason why we are looking for this inner strength is so that we don't have to become bulky like bodybuilders. Now your muscles will develop tone, they will develop greater definition. You may even lose some body fat without losing body mass. By that I mean the lean, mean killing machine. What does that mean? It means the muscles that you develop have the ability to contract when you tell them to contract. And they have ability to let go of tension when you're no longer sending them signals to contract. There are no signals that you can send to the muscles to relax. So essentially you are also going to develop the ability to control how much you relax by doing less. That's right. It's the manifestation of the principle of non-doing, or Wu Wei as they call it in Chinese. Wu Wei, or non-doing, is essentially about doing less instead of doing more. You cannot relax by doing more. You actually need to relax by doing less if you don't want to be excessively tense after the workouts. And that's one of the beautiful benefits of our training, is that after the workouts we feel tired but relaxed, rather than tired and tense. Or we learn how to eliminate energy blockages in our organism. When we work out and we allow the muscles to relax, something remarkable happens. The tense muscles don't allow the qi to flow freely through your system. Of course, it also prevents the flow of blood and lymph and restricts the circulation. That's why so many people suffer from feeling always cold, like they have cold hands, cold feet. What we do is we learn how to allow the circulation to circulate abundantly. And we're talking about not only circulation of blood and lymph, but also the life force. That is an intelligent way to integrate strength training with energy arts. We also can integrate this type of strength training with martial arts. As I mentioned, Bruce Lee, for example, some other folks who are engaged in the study of martial arts. I mentioned Shaolin monks, and actually even a more ancient order of Shambhala warriors who specialized in this type of training as well. On a more modern scale, the cosmonauts in the Soviet Union and in Russia, as well as astronauts, also have to deal with the issue of losing muscle strength when they're flying in space. And guess what? They cannot ship weights into space station. First of all, because they're too damn heavy, and secondly, they won't work in the weightlessness anyway. And they don't ship the exercise machines because they're also too heavy and bulky. What's the solution? Well, one of the folks who was working with the Soviet cosmonauts actually learned this from my grandfather, as far as I know, and started teaching it to a select group of the cosmonauts who were spending long periods of time in weightlessness in space. They literally learn how to engage their body in self-resistance strength training in a way that allowed them to be able to walk once they landed. Because without this training, they would land after spending a month or several months in space, and they wouldn't be able to walk. They literally had to be carried out of the space station in stretchers and spend quite a bit of time just regaining this strength because muscles atrophy after not having to use the muscles. If you don't use it, you lose it. So if cosmonauts and astronauts can benefit from that, or Chinese call them taikonauts, the folks like you and me can benefit from that just as well. If Shaolin monks can train and become exceedingly strong, so can we. I invite you to get ready for a program that I'm going to offer starting next week. That's right, just next week I will announce the opening of enrollment into my new program dedicated to strength training. And this is the most intelligent strength training that I have ever encountered anywhere in the world. I've traveled the world, I've met many experts in many different disciplines, including athletic trainers and strength trainers, and this proves to be the most intelligent way to develop your inner strength. The reason for that is not only because it allows you to engage a higher percentage of your muscle fibers in action when you choose to send the signals to the muscles to contract. It's also because you develop greater balance. In my previous video I mentioned that a lot of folks who work out in gyms mostly focus attention on the muscles in the front of the body because they can see them in the mirror. And the muscles of the back don't receive anywhere near as much attention, which of course leads to imbalance. Greater level of development of muscles in the front of the body basically overpowers the muscles of the back, and the muscles that are overpowered are not going to just stay quiet. They're going to complain. And the complaint comes in the form of the signals of pain, or the person basically develops back pain or soreness in the muscles that are weaker than the muscles antagonists. Now that's not all. It also allows you to develop greater endurance in addition to greater strength, because this is the only exercise regimen that I know of where you can actually smoothly transition from the anaerobic to the aerobic regime of exercise. In other words, from strength training to endurance training. I will obviously need to introduce a lot of specific details about how to do that. That I will do in the course of our program. But rest assured, it actually allows you to develop both strength and endurance, which is rather unique. And another unique quality of our program is that you don't become less flexible as a result of strength training. As I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, most people, after they work out, they end up feeling tense and sore and stiff a few hours or maybe a day later. And that's because those signals of contraction still make their way to the muscles. It's also because the muscles got hurt. Literally, the fibers of the muscle get microscopic tears that eventually heal up, and that leads to hypertrophy. Thank you very much. We don't want to tear our muscles. We want to communicate better with our muscles. Now, we literally heal the communication breakdown. or reconnect with parts of the body that we have not been connected with or not sufficiently connected. When we do that, we don't need to tear the muscle fibers. We don't need to work out till we actually give ourselves injury, in a sense. Now, that means that you're not going to be in pain. If you train following this method till you start feeling pain, you're doing too much. That's right. No pain, greater gain. How intelligent is that? That also means you will be able to relax after the workout. You're not going to be agitated. Your central nervous system will not be sending any more signals of contraction, and the signals that it did send will get to the muscle fibers. It's a very unique way of literally streamlining communication between the central nervous system and the muscle tissue, so that those nerve endings that are connected to the muscles receive the signals without those signals getting lost in translation or taking their sweet time to trickle down to the muscle. When you develop that ability to communicate with that part of your body directly, you will also be able to stop sending signals of contraction. So when you're done working out, you actually will be thoroughly relaxed. And that is an amazing benefit in of itself. In a sense, you will achieve that which a lot of people would kill for. You become more relaxed after the workout. You know how many types of creams and potions and lotions the pharmaceutical industry has developed just to treat sore muscles? It's one of the main reasons why people even seek medical attention. It's because they have musculoskeletal pain. Well, you may actually learn how to nip it in the bud, because the root cause of most of the musculoskeletal pain is weakness in those muscles that are hurting. If you train them, they won't be hurting as much, or at all. In other words, the muscles that are stiff and sore and painful are weak muscles, and they need to get stronger in order to stop hurting. That means you will be able to develop ability to heal yourself from one of the most insidious issues that people seek medical attention for, the musculoskeletal pain. And you will actually develop greater strength so that you're not only going to be pain-free, but you also will have the ability to function better as a human being. Lift things easier, push things easier, pull things easier, press things easier. Anything that you need to do, you'll be able to do with greater ease. Now, doing that which other people consider difficult with ease is the path to mastery. We're not even on a path to mastery. Let me paraphrase it. We're on a path of mastery. We are mastering things as we continue our journey. We continuously improve upon what we've learned before. And we master things as we progress. But there is no final destination. So I can promise you that you're not going to get to like 100% of your muscle fibers all firing at once. And there is no room for improvement. But you will get better and better and better. And as you continue the progress, you will no longer even need me to walk you by the hand. Rest assured. First, I will walk you by the hand and give you very specific instructions and coaching, which I will provide over the course of this 6-week program with 2 coaching sessions every week. And what you will experience in the course of this program is a consistent improvement of many different functions of your organism. And first and foremost, greater strength, greater endurance, and greater balance. And also, as I said, you will improve your flexibility instead of ruining your flexibility by strength training. Now, if that's not enough, you will also develop greater communication with different parts of the body. Reconnect with them so that you'll be able to pay attention to them. And as they say, where attention goes, energy flows. You will be able to empower those parts of yourself that perhaps have been disempowered or even disavowed, or you never paid attention to them, which obviously will lead to even greater circulation of energy throughout your system and removing the obstacles along the way so that energy doesn't get blocked. You actually address the root cause of the blockages, which is tension. The energy will begin flowing more freely through your system. You won't even need to direct it. You won't even need to manipulate it. You will literally allow the energy to flow freely, and as you experience that circulation. That essentially is what most people try to achieve by doing all kinds of Qigong forms and exercises and drills. You will experience it without doing any forms. I will provide you some exercises, and I will provide you some opportunities to learn the principles. And once you find out how the principles work, and you apply these principles to yourself, you will be able to experience the benefits of these principles being applied without having to memorize any forms or go through repetitive routines. Now, there's going to be some movement involved. There's going to be a fair amount of physical activity that we will engage in the next few weeks. But it's not going to be formulaic. You will find out as you enroll in my program exactly what I mean. Rest assured, it will blow your mind, and it will also enlighten you as to many other more hidden aspects of our studies that I will be revealing over the course of the next few weeks with you. I look forward to working with you, and I will send you another video in just a few days. Until then, namaste.